Yeah. Whenever you're ready, you can read, Mate.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarani जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद. So today we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, the liberations of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, text 230. 235, right? When a person takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without reservation, the unlimited, merciful Lord bestows his causeless mercy upon him. Thus, he can pass over the insurmountable ocean of the nescience. Those whose intelligence is fixed in the bodily consumption, who thinks I am this body, are fit food for dogs and jackals. The Supreme Lord never bestows his mercy upon such people. Text 236. After speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. From that day on, the Bhattacharya was free because his false pride had been dismantled. Text 237. From that day on, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did not know anything but the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from that day he could explain the revealed scriptures only in the accordance with the process of the devotional service. Text 238. Seeing that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was firmly fixed in the clut of the Vaishnavism, Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, began to dance, clap his hands, and chant Hari Hari. Text 239. The next day, the Bhattacharya went to visit the temple of Lord Jagannath, but before he reached the temple, he went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 240. When he met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya fell down flat to offer his respects. After offering various prayers to him, he spoke of his previous bad disposition with great humility. Text 241. Then the Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which item is most important in the execution of the devotional service? The Lord explained that the most important item was chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Text 242. In this age of the quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. Text 243. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very elaborately explained the Harinama verse of the Rana Naradhya Purana, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was struck with the wonder to hear his explanation. 244. Gopinath Acharya reminded Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, my dear Bhattacharya, what I foretold to you has now taken place. Text 245. Offering his obeisances to Gopinath Acharya, the Bhattacharya said, because I am related to you and you are a devotee, by your mercy, the Lord has shown mercy to me. Text 246. You are the first class devotee, whereas I am in the darkness of the logical arguments. Because of your relationship with the Lord has bestowed his benediction upon me. Text 247. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with this humble statement. After embracing the Bhattacharya, he said, "Now go see Lord Jagannath in the temple." Text 248. After visiting the temple of Lord Jagannath, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya returned home with Jagadananda and Damodar. Text 249. The Bhattacharya bought, bought large quantities of excellent food remnants blessed by Lord Jagannath. All this prasadam was given to his own Brahmana servant along with the Jagadananda and Damodar. Text 250. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then composed two verses on the leaf of a palm tree, given the palm leaf to Jagadananda Prabhu. The Bhattacharya requested him to deliver it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 251. Jagadananda and Damodar then returned to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bringing him both the prasadam and the palm leaf on which the verses were composed. But Mukunda Datta took the palm leaf from the hands of Jagadananda before he could deliver it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 252. Mukunda Datta then copied the two verses on the wall outside the room. After this, Jagadananda took the palm leaf from Mukunda Datta and delivered it to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 253. As soon as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read the two verses, he immediately tore up the palm leaf. However, all the devotees read these verses on the outside wall, and then all kept them within their hearts. The verses read as follows. Text 254. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge, his devotional service, and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna's consciousness. He has descended because he is an ocean of the transcendental mercy. Let me surrender unto his lotus feet. 255. Let my consciousness, which is like an honeybee, take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has just now appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach the ancient system of the devotional service to himself. This system had almost been lost due to the influence of time. Text 256. These two verses composed by the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya will always declare his name and fame as loud as a pounding drum, for they have become pearl necklace around the neck of all the devotees. Text 257. Indeed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became an unalloyed devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not know anything but the service of the Lord. Text 258. The Bhattacharya always chanted the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, son of Mother Sachi, and the receiver of all good qualities. Indeed, chanting the holy name became his meditation. Thank you, Prabhuji. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhya. Hare Krishna. So, the context, let us go through briefly context. The context was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They had a conversation with, he had a conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he explained the Atmanama verse in 18 different ways. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya accepted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord just by hearing this explanation, wonderful explanations on that verse. The moment Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya understood like that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed it. How? By showing his form as four-armed Vishnu first, and then he showed him the form of two-armed Shams in the form also after that. So like that he showed, then is described how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became a devotee through the interaction. So now the context here was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one day came home to went to the Jagannath temple and received the Mahaprasad and went to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When he went to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was not up from the bed yet. He was still taking rest in the bed. and he did not get up yet, he did not brush his teeth, he did not take bath yet, he did not do his morning duties yet. But still, as soon as he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came home, he immediately went there and paid obeisances to him. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did you do? We heard last time that he opened the prasadam package and he kept it in the hands of Sarvam Bhattacharya. Sarvam Bhattacharya immediately accepted the prasad. Remember, he did not take bath, he did not brush teeth, nothing. But he quoted a couple of verses from scriptures that say how Mahaprasad should be accepted immediately. Even if it is coming from a long distance, it becomes stale, doesn't matter. Whatever be the condition, depending, irrespective of the time, place, circumstance, you can accept it like that. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with this. Why? Because before this, Sarvam Bhattacharya was following impressionist philosophy and was very attached to the rules and regulations related to the smarta culture. But now he's valuing bhakti is the topmost. Just because Bhagwan's prasadam, Jagannath prasadam, is accepting it without following the rule also. Other rules that he is familiar with, taking bath before you eat food, like that, right? So that when he saw that, like that, he was very, very happy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the context. So then, when, yeah, let me see. The previous verse were, yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying to Bhattacharya that you've been released from material bondage in the bodily conception of life. You cut to the pieces the shackles of Maya. Today, your mind has become fit to take shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. Because surpassing Vedic regulative principles, you have eaten the prasadam, Mahaprasadam, like that is described. So this point will be repeated in several ways in the next coming verses. The point here is only after someone gets out of the bodily conception of life, only somebody is not in body conception of life, then they become purified and they can engage in pure devotion service after that, like that. That is the context of what happened so far. Now coming to today's verse. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing when a person takes shelter of lotus feet of Krishna without reservation, then unlimited merciful Lord bestows mercy upon him. That means when we are trying to take shelter of Krishna without any reservations, that means without getting deviated with this distraction, that distraction, like that, continuously, consistently, without any selfish motivation. When we take shelter of Krishna, we'll get unlimited mercy from him. And that's how we can go back to the spiritual world, like that. But on the contrary, if our intelligence is fixed in the bodily conception, then Supreme Lord Mastery will not come, as describing here. That's the important point. So that's why it's important for us to not be in the bodily consciousness, but be in the spiritual consciousness, like that. So now, purport also elaborately describes how people who are following karma kanda, people who are following karma yoga, or jnana yoga, they also cannot reach spiritual world. Even if jnana yogis, sometimes they may go up to the Brahma platform, Brahma Jyoti platform, but still they need to come back because they're not purified yet. That is the point mentioned in the purport. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after speaking like this, he went back to his residence, it seems. Then Sarvam Bhattacharya was free because his false pride has gone now. Otherwise, he was proud that he has so much knowledge, like that, because he has so many sannyasi disciples also who he was teaching earlier. But now he doesn't have that false pride anymore because of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Sarvam Bhattacharya, from that day on, he became a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he explained the revealed scriptures in the bhakti, with the bhakti purport now. Earlier, remember, he was explaining just by logical interpretations of things, but there's no bhakti, there's no Supreme Lord in the picture. But now he's explaining the same verse scriptures with a bhakti angle of vision, like that. Now, when brother-in-law of Sarvam Bhattacharya, his name is Gopinath Acharya, he saw that Sarvam Bhattacharya was so fixed in Vaishnavism like this, he was very happy. So he began to dance, he began to clap his hands and chant Hari Hari like that. The next day, Bhattacharya went to Lord Jagannath temple. But before he went to Jagannath temple, he went to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a elaborate pastime we'll discuss now. And then he goes to Jagannath temple like that. First of all, when he went there, he offered his Dandavat Pranam, our obeisances to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he offered prayers describing how he was so engrossed in logical explanations before like that. So that means, and then with great humility he is explaining. One lesson we can learn from here is we should never forget where we were before coming to Krishna consciousness, how bad state we are in. When we remember that, then we'll be grateful for persons, so many people who are helping us in Krishna consciousness, including the person who first showed us the temple or first told us go to this Bhagavad Gita class or Srimad Bhagavatam class or whatever it is. So that's the first thing. We should, if you remember that where we came from, only because of devotees' mercy, Krishna's mercy, now we are practicing Krishna consciousness. When we remember that, we'll always continue to be grateful to Krishna and also his devotees. Now, next verse. When Sarva Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of all the 9 processes of devotional service, which is the most important, like that he asked. The Lord, without even thinking, immediately responded that chanting of the holy name is the best, Kirtanam. Remember, the 9 processes of devotional service are given in Srimad Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padanam, Sevanam, Achanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, Vandanam also is there, right? Vandanam. So like that, among all of them, chanting of the holy name is the best. That's why there is so much emphasis by Prabhupada and our acharyas that we should chant our rounds every day without fail and regularly, like that. And as sincere as we can, the number of rounds. So now that is that verse. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting of the holy name. There's no other way, no other way, no other way. What is this verse? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not just saying from his mind, he is quoting the reference from scriptures, from Naradiya Purana, that chanting of the holy name is the best thing for this age, like that. And then he explained very elaborately that verse also, meaning it seems, along. And Sarva Bhattacharya was struck with wonder when he heard this explanation, it seems. Then Gopinathacharya reminded Sarva Bhattacharya that, remember, I told you, when Supreme Lord himself gives you mercy, then you will understand that he is Supreme Lord, like that. Remember, originally, Sarva Bhattacharya was not ready to accept that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord. That time, Gopinathacharya, his brother-in-law, told him that only if you receive the mercy of Supreme Lord, then you'll understand that he is Supreme Lord, like that. That's what he told him. Now he's saying that then Bhattacharya agreed and he's paid obeisances. And he says, because I am related to you and you are a devotee, by your mercy, the Lord has shown mercy to me. This is a very important principle for us to note. Because if some devotees are nice to us, if we become favorable to some devotees, so if they want to give us mercy, then by seeing them, their merciful attitude, their favorable attitude towards us, Krishna will give us mercy also. That's why we always try to please devotees. So now, yeah, this is 245, right? Okay. Then let me go to 246. Yeah. Then Sarva Bhattacharya is glorifying Gopinathacharya. First he said, because of your mercy, Lord Chaitanya gave me mercy. That's first thing. Now he's saying you are a first-class devotee, whereas I'm in the darkest of logical arguments. Because of your relationship with the Lord has bestowed his benediction upon me. So this is a humble mode, not that really, yes, I'm a great devotee. That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave mercy. He didn't say that. He was accepting that because of devotee's mercy, he got Lord Chaitanya mercy. That's how we also need to cultivate our mood. Only by the mercy of our spiritual master, we can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. or Lord Nityananda. Only by mercy of Lord Nityananda, we get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Only by getting the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we get the mercy of Sri Radha and Krishna, Radha Madhav. So that's one. Then, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very pleased with this humble statement. What does it tell us? That Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will love us if we develop that quality of humility. So what did he do? He embraced Bhattacharya and said, now go to see Lord Jagannath in the temple. Remember, before going to temple, he came to see Lord Chaitanya. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving permission for him to go. So that's why we need to cultivate qualities like humility while practicing devotion service. Now, after visiting the temple of Jagannath, Sarvam Bhattacharya returned home, it seems, with the two other devotees, Jagadananda and Damodara. And he brought a lot of Mahaprasadam also, Jagannath Mahaprasadam also along with him. And he gave it to his Brahmana servant along with Jagadananda and Damodara, two other associates of the Lord basically. Then is described, Sarvam Bhattacharya composed 2 verses about Lord Chaitanya's divinity on the leaves of a palm tree, it seems. And he gave the palm leaves to Jagadananda Prabhu. And Bhattacharya requested him to give it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you notice, there's a protocol, there's a Vaishnava etiquette followed in Chaitanya Charitamrita we see. This is one thing we can learn. So because many devotees didn't approach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly, they approached through one of his associates only like that. So that's what we are seeing here. He wrote some 2 verses glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's divinity, and then he's given it to Jagadananda Prabhu to give it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now Jagadananda Prabhu and Damodara, they went back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They brought the prasadam that Sarvam Bhattacharya gave, and also the palm leaf also. They gave both of them. But they were going to give them. But what happened? They were intercepted by Mukunda Datta. This is interesting. Why we'll find out. So whatever wrote versus Sarvam Bhattacharya wrote, this Mukunda Datta took it. Why? He understood. What did he do? First we'll read that. He copied those 2 verses on the wall outside the room of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it seems. Why did he do that? Because he knew if Lord Chaitanya sees that somebody is glorifying him as Supreme Lord, he will tear it away. That is why he wrote the verses on outside the room, it seems. After that, Jagadananda took the palm leaf from Mukundatta and gave it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it seems. So then, yeah, and exactly as he suspected, Mukundatta suspected, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read those 2 verses. And he immediately tore up the palm leaf, it seems. Because, but luckily, all the devotees read the verses on the outside wall of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home. And they all kept that verses in their hearts. And those verses we get to read also now. Basically, these verses are glorifying, Sarvam Bhattacharya is glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord, basically. That is what is going on in these verses. So first verse is very famous. Let me open the verse also. Vairagya Vidya Nijabhakti Yoga Shikshardhameka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dari Krupam Buddhir Yastam Aham Prapadye. This line is very famous. Vairagya Vidya Nijabhakti Yoga, like that. So what is this saying? Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's disclosing the identity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord. Why did he descend? To teach us real knowledge, his devotional service, and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. That means whatever is not favorable for Krishna consciousness, he will teach us detachment from those things which are not conducive for Krishna consciousness. And he has descended. Why did he descend? Because he's the ocean of transcendental mercy. So that's why he's saying, let me surrender unto his lotus feet. So essentially, he's describing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Lord Krishna and is very merciful. He came to teach us devotional service along with detachment from things that are not favorable for devotional service. That's what he's sharing with us here. So now next verse also similar to that. He says, let my consciousness, which is like a honeybee, take shelter of lotus feet of Krishna, who has just now appeared as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, again disclosing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity. And why did he come? To teach the ancient science of devotional service to himself. This system had almost been lost due to influence of time. So it's glorifying that Krishna himself appeared as his devotee, like that. So now going to the next verse. So these two verses will always declare the fame and name and fame of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because they became like pearl necklaces around the necks of all devotees is described. So now going to the next verse. Sarvam Bhattacharya became an unalloyed devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not know anything but the service of the Lord, because he is so purified and so well situated with the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the last verse for today, Bhattacharya always chanted the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the son of Mother Sachi and is the reservoir of all good qualities. Indeed, chanting the holy names became his meditation. So another important principle here is that when we take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can get the mercy of Krishna. In fact, is described, I was listening to a class by His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. He gave a class in Mayapur on Gaura Purnima. He was telling that the more we grow in our devotion from Lord Chaitanya, with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the more our devotion for Lord Krishna also will increase, like that he was telling. It's not that because we are worshipping Lord Chaitanya, we are becoming away from Lord Krishna. No. In fact, that is how Prabhupada gave us the nice process, that just by worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are growing in our bhakti directly to Krishna, like that. Because he's none other than Krishna himself. So that's the point he was sharing. So just to conclude, we heard about the Sarvam Bhattacharya, how he got the special mercy of Lord Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sarvam Bhattacharya glorified him, recognized him as Supreme Lord, and glorified him with two verses about how he is a Supreme Lord himself, like that. That's what we heard. So now we'll see what are the interactions happened between Sarvam Bhattacharya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the next session. Okay, so I'll pause here. Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. There's a Bhagavad Gita class that will start now. So